Hello friends, welcome back. In the previous tutorial, we have seen what are the problems we come across when we use arrays to represent the real world entities. I'm just going to copy this code somewhere else. Okay, I create one new text document and I mention it as problem to be solved. We need to solve this problem by using the structures and class, and we keep this. Later we come back to this code and we will see when to create a structure, when to create a class, and how do we solve this one very easily and make it intuitive or more meaningful. We have seen arrays are collection of homogeneous data elements. As I told that we are going to use structures and classes to store different kinds of elements, or heterogeneous collection of data elements are known as structures. Also classes, you can say. Structures. Structure is a collection of heterogeneous related data elements. You are going to keep different types of related elements in one place. That is a structure. Even you can say the class is also similar to a structure. Of course, if we have a structure and separate as a class, definitely there will be a difference. Of course, there is a difference between class and a structure. Class is a collection of heterogeneous related data elements. What we are going to do is we are going to differentiate, few differentiation between them. I am going to write here. Now structures are value types. Okay, remember that. Whereas class is a reference type. I hope you remember I have explained previously what is a value type, difference between value type and reference type. Value types hold the value, whereas reference types hold the address. Okay, that you should remember. And another difference between structure and class is no inheritance in structure. Inheritance. Whereas you can inherit one class from another. Okay, you cannot inherit one structure from another structure, whereas you can inherit one class from another class. So that means inheritance helps you to extend, whereas structures won't allow you to extend. Okay, we will get an idea. We will clearly understand each and every information. These are the major differences I can say, difference between structures and class. Now let us proceed and check out how do we create a structure and how do we create a class. Let me tell you about the structures and class. Both are just definitions. Let us take one example, one real-time example we take. Let us take an example of a civil engineer. If he wants to build buildings or house, what he will do first? First, what he is going to do, he is going to create a blueprint of the house, right? Or a building. Let us take this is a blueprint. Okay, this is a blueprint. Here in the blueprint, he is clearly going to mention everything, that what should be the width of the house, depth of the house, where should be the door, what should be the width and height of the door, right? And how many number of rooms it should have. All the things he is going to write in the blueprint. Based on that blueprint, many house or buildings are going to build, and every house or which are built by using the blueprint are going to have the same properties. That means same number of rooms will be present in this house, same number of rooms will be present in this house, the doors will be in the same place. So this is a blueprint, right guys? This is a blueprint. Based on the blueprint, let us take this blueprint is house. This is house blueprint. Here we will be having house 1, right? Then this is house 2. Now these are actually instances of the blueprint, or you can say instances of the house. And instances are actually real things, the real entities, the real world elements. The house is a place where you are going to stay. You are not going to stay in the blueprint, right? This is just a definition. Here you are going to keep all the information. Based on that, you are going to create different houses. Let us take an example of a mechanical engineer. What mechanical engineer is going to do? He want to create cars. What he will do? He will create a blueprint. First, he is going to create a design of the car, a 3D car. Okay, maybe he can use the different softwares like Maya or different softwares to create the car. This is just a blueprint. This is a car. Okay, it is just a design of car in the 3D. And what he will do, he will create in that design, he is going to tell how many number of wheels it is going to have, what color it can have, and what is the speed, what type of engine it has. All the informations he is going to maintain in some documentation. He created this design. After that, he sold this car to some company, and that company is going to create the real cars based on that design. And all cars are going to have the same features. Whatever the design has, the same properties our cars are going to have, and whatever the design, the behaviors of the design, every car is going to have the same behavior. That means if this design mentioned that this car runs at a speed of this much, then all these cars are going to run at the speed of that much. Okay. These are the real instances. Okay, the real car is an instance, car 1. You can create any number of cars using that design. I hope you guys are understanding what is an instance, what is a design, or what is a blueprint, what is an instance. Instances are also known as objects. They are objects. To create a blueprint or to create a design, we can use two different structures, two control structures. They are structures and classes. You can create the designs either by using the structure or by using the class. These are the two options that help you to create designs. Now based on the designs, later you can create any number of instances, guys. Now we have to decide as a programmer, it is our responsibility to create a design whether we have to use a structure or a class. We will get later the information about when we have to use structures, when we have to use class. But at present, you remember that if you are creating a design, you can use either a structure or a class. So design is not going to take much memory, whereas the real world entities are going to get the memory, okay, allocated, you can say. Instance, this is actually known as the instance, guys. Okay, these are house 1, house 2, car 1 are all instances. Or you can say object. Sometimes we use the term object or instance alternatively. If I say instance means you should think that okay, it's an object. If I say object means you should think like an instance. Objects are the instances of the design, and they are going to be allocated or they are going to be created actually in the system. Let us proceed and get some more information about another example which we will be working with. The example is the point. Finding the distance between 2 points is my problem now. Whenever you get a problem, we are going to analyze it very clearly, and then later we are going to represent that in the code. If I have to solve this problem, what are the steps I can carry? Now first thing, you can see that I have 2 points, point 1 and point 2. You can see that I'm telling you there are 2 points. So there is a design called as a point we are going to create, and this point is going to hold two components, X component and the Y component. Using that design, this point is going to be our design. That is our design. Then in this I am going to mention X and Y. Of course every point is going to have a X position and a Y position. If it is a 3D point, then you will be having X, Y, Z. As we are working with the 2D, we can just have X and Y, right? The point is going to have two properties, you can say X and Y. Using this design, I can create two different instances, that is P1 and P2. I can create two instances, P1 and P2, both are going to have X and Y. So P1 and P2 are actually the instances, guys, objects. Now to represent the point, I can use either structure or a class, any one I can use. Of course, we will see the difference between structure and class, then you will get an idea what to use, whether to use structure or a class. Let us proceed further. So we got an information that, okay, I will be making a design called point. Using that point, I am going to create two instances, and the point is going to hold two properties, X and Y. And of course, it should have also the behavior which gives us the distance back. So to create the distance, I am going to create one function called as getDistance function. Now getDistance is responsible for getting the distance between 2 points. Let us understand step by step. So only these three behaviors it can have. Okay, at present, to solve this problem, I need only this much information. In real world, every object is going to have properties and behaviors. Every object is going to have properties and behaviors. Now what is the meaning of that? Let us take an example of a car. So I can say car is going to have few properties. Now properties will be always nouns in English grammar. Properties actually you will see as nouns. Let us list out some properties of the car. The properties of the car, let us take the color of the car, right? The number of wheels. I'm just listing out. Maybe name of the car or maybe model of the car. And if you see all these things, color, noun of wheels, name, model, they are all actually the properties of the car. And you can see they are all nouns. You are going to list out the properties. First, whenever you get a problem, what we are going to do means we are going to find out the designs. That means we are going to find out the objects, okay, general objects in the problem. Then we are going to identify the different properties that each object is going to have, or the general list of properties. Okay, because every car is going to have a color, number of wheels, name, model, right? Or even the number of the car. After finding out the properties of the design, what we are going to do means we are going to find out the behaviors. Behaviors are actually, you will find as a verbs. Behaviors means behaviors we represent by using the methods in the software world. So behavior, maybe you want to set color. They represent the verbs or actions. Using this function, I can set the color. Can you see that? Set color is a verb, right? Set is a verb. Set color. Set name. Set name. This is a behavior. So behaviors we represent by using the functions. Properties we represent by creating the properties. So if you get any problem, first identify the general objects in that problem. So here, in this problem, we have identified a general object, that is the car, that is a design. Based on that general object design, we are going to create an independent instance, right? Independence object. Now, after finding the design, we are going to find out its properties and behaviors, and then we start making the real cars. Now, same thing in this place we have identified in building a house. We have identified the general object is our house. Based on that, once we identify the design, of course we are going to make identify the properties, the list of properties, you can say. The list of properties you can mention like number of rooms, right? Number of rooms you can mention, and you can say number of windows, right? You can mention how many number of windows it can have, or color of the house you can mention. These are all few properties we have identified. You can identify many properties. There will be many properties for an object. According to the requirement, we have to select the properties. Once we identify the properties, of course, we can identify the behaviors. We can write the list of behaviors for that one. The behaviors that this blueprint house is going to have: set color, right? Set color, and set number of windows, set windows, I can say set windows, like this. And you can see these are verbs. So these are the list of properties of house. These are the list of behaviors of house. Okay, behaviors usually we represent by using methods. They are also known as actions performed by the objects, you can say. What is the design? For us, the design or the blueprint is point. Based on that point, we can create point 1, point 2. And what are its properties? The properties are X and Y. And the behavior is, we need at present only this one, get distance. You can create many behaviors according to the requirement. Later you might be interested to find out the angle between these 2 points. Then you might need to create one more behavior called get angle. I hope you guys are clearly understanding now. Now we know what is a property, what is a behavior, what is a design, what is a blueprint. How do we, if we get some real world problem, how do we convert that to the software world? What are the steps we carry? I hope you guys have understood. The most important thing you need to understand at present is what is the design. Design is going to hold the collection of properties and behaviors. Based on that design, we are going to create different instances, and all instances are going to have same properties and behaviors. Instances are actually real objects which are going to be created on the memory. And there are 2 ways of creating the designs. Either you can use a structure or a class, and it again depends. So in games you are going to come across with different situations, right? Let us take, you have created one car model and you want to move, you have imported that in the 3D world, and now you want to make it behave. You want to make it move left, right, change the color at any situation. If a user presses the some X key or some color change, or you can change the model, then of course you have to represent it in this way, right? You can list out the properties like X position, Y position, velocity in X, velocity in Y, color of the car, model of the car. The behaviors you can use like move forward, move back, move left, move right, turn left, turn right. Those are all the behaviors. I hope you guys have clearly understood what are the designs, what are the instances, and how we create. Let us proceed and understand how do we create the structure and how do we create a class. We are going to take an example of the point because it is a very simplest problem we are going to solve first. Okay, we want to find out the distance between 2 points. This example we take, we solve this one properly, then later we get some other information. How do we create a point structure? How do we create a structure called as a point? Means you are going to use a keyword called as struct. That is a keyword which helps you to create the design, okay, the structure. And I give a name to it as a point. This is our point. Now we are going to list out the properties and the behaviors. We will create properties later. First of all, I would like to say the fields are our properties now. That's it. Okay, fields. The properties are also known as attributes, or sometimes I use field. But when we come to C# programming, there is a difference between field and properties, guys. You will get later what is the difference between field and properties. But at present we consider the fields are properties. We are going to mention here, let's take it is of type float X. Then I create another property, another attribute, you can say float Y. So attributes, 2 attributes it has, X and Y. And if I have to create the behavior called get distance, I can say it is going to return a distance, float, and I can say here get distance is a function which takes the another point. Okay, maybe it takes 2 points, you can say point P1 or P2, something like that. That is our behavior. Okay, it takes another point and it finds out the distance between the current point and the another point. This is how you are going to create the structure. Now how do you create a class? Now class is exactly same. You can see I'm going to use a keyword called as a class. Then I write the name of the class is a point, opening brace, closing brace, and float x, that is the first attribute, float y, that is the second attribute, then float get distance is the behavior, and what it does, it also takes another point, point, point P2, let us take. And you can check it out. What is the difference between these two syntax, guys? If you see the difference between these two syntax, only difference we have is the keyword. Here we write struct, here we write class. But behind the scene, their meaning is different. They are used in different place. The class is a reference type, struct is a value type. Okay, that you should remember. Now this is the way how we write the code. Then later, if I have to create point 1, point 2, P1 and P2, what I do is I just say here point P1 is equal to new point, bracket, semicolon. This is how I create one point. Another point I create point P2 is equal to new point using the structure. If I am using this structure, I am going to write like this. There are many ways, and if I am using class, I am going to write same way. Point P1 is equal to new point. If I have to create another point, I say point P2 is equal to new point. This is our design, a blueprint. These two are designs, blueprints. And these are actual instances, or we say them as object. This is a class, these two are objects. This is a structure, these two are instances or objects. Usually what we do means we use the terms class and object, struct and instance. That is the way how we remember now onwards. Now we just say here, this is the design. This is also the design, and these two are attributes. I don't say properties, I say attributes. Okay guys, attributes, attributes, attributes or fields, fields, fields. These are attributes or fields. Remember these terminologies. And of course the functions are behaviors. Okay, get distance is also a behavior, behavior, behavior or actions, I say. P1 and P2 are instances of point. Here P1 and P2 instances or I say objects of point. I hope you guys are understanding how do we create codes, and the terminologies are most important, guys, because I will be using these terminologies. Whenever I use the terminologies, you should be able to understand what I am talking about. In the next class we will see actual coding. We write the codes and we will understand step by step everything. For this class, this much is enough, guys. Thank you guys. Thank you very much. Keep learning, keep coding. See you in the next tutorial.